Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. Sorry for the delay, it's my fault. It's 10 a.m. and I completely underestimated how long it would take me to set up. So sorry about that. I'm with Sam. How are you, Sam?
I'm good, thanks, Az. How you doing?
I'm okay. You can see we've both got red arrows this week.
Excuse me, I had a green arrow this week.
Did you?
Yeah, a massive one.
Oh, well, my apologies. But you are. I figured because you were sort of below me. I thought you'd. So you were below me last week as well, were you?
I had a shocker in Gameweek 2. I've gone up I don't know, about 600k.
Wow. Okay. Well, my apologies. I mean, basically, if you're under me, I just assume you've had a red arrow. We're 1 point different.
Is that what we are?
Yep. You're on 529. I'm on 530. So.
There you go.
Interesting.
Coming for you this week. I'm coming for you.
Absolutely. We've had some great questions, some really good. I mean, this international break's been crazy, so we've got loads of stuff to discuss. Just before we do that, I just want to talk quickly about UEFA Champions League fantasy football because the door is open for people to now play this game. Fantasy Scout are partnered with UEFA, which is amazing. We're doing loads of articles on site. Neil, Tom, and other sort of UEFA correspondents with us are doing articles on which players to get. So if you're interested in the Champions League game, then make sure you sign up before the group stage starts, which is next week. It's really quick, isn't it, how these things go around? Yeah. If you play FPL, it's broadly similar in the same way the Euros was broadly similar to FPL. The main thing is there's a lot more management involved. So it suits some people really well. It means you can change your captain sort of each day. It means you can change your bench and bring players on for players who haven't performed. And it's a little bit less intense than the Euros because you don't have so many matches so quickly. You've got a bit more time to assess and react and stuff. So it's a great game to play alongside FPL. And we all love the Champions League anyway. So it just makes that a bit more interesting. And who doesn't want to have Ronaldo in his first match, in the Champions League? So definitely check that out. Right then, Sam, let's get into it. I feel bad now I've given you a red arrow. It's
absolutely outrageous.
And it's such a massive rank increase as well.
I know. Like if it had been last week, I'd have been like, yeah, I absolutely deserve that red. But
yeah. Sorry, you're on a red. I can't even edit it on the thing. So yeah, sorry about that. Right. So we're going to start with some questions from Fantasy Football Scouts. The Knight Template, who was a bit sad because apparently he asks questions every week and I never answer them. He's one of these guys who's always in character. So he is literally, well, I don't know if he's in character. Maybe he is just a knight. But he asks, who is the one? And you may only choose one non-template player you rate over the next 3 game weeks. And then he adds, "'Tis a fine question," which I liked as well. So, yeah, one non-template players. I mean, lots of people are wildcarding this week. Is there any players that you're not seeing in many teams that you think could be a good option?
How rogue shall I be here? That's the next
I know.
question,
That's what I was thinking as well.
I really like Pookie. Is that a ridiculous thing to say?
I mean, a little bit. I noticed because we're doing the Scout Squad article, aren't we, for the week? And I was trying to think of a cheap striker, and you were straight away like Pookie, no doubt. And then you even said you're thinking of bringing him into your team.
I am.
What?
Yeah, when everyone else is making mad moves for Lukaku and Ronaldo, I'm thinking about joining a Pookie party potentially on my own. I look at the fixtures for Norwich, and I think the fixtures look really good. Actually, they're opening 3 game weeks. The underlying stats haven't been bad either. And they've played against Liverpool, City and Leicester. So they've not exactly had easy games. So for the games that they've played, the underlying stats are actually fine. They're going into a game this weekend against Arsenal, who, well, let's see what's going to happen there. But even if they've got everyone back and COVID is no longer a thing at Arsenal and everything's kind of back to normal, they haven't played together successfully yet. There's still a lot of unrest around that camp, and I can see Norwich kind of seeing that as an opportunity to get off the score sheet. And then the fixtures beyond that Arsenal game are good for Norwich. Like game week 5 was the point where we were all kind of going, well, the Norwich fixtures are better. And of course they're cheap, right? So it's not going to take up loads of your budget, and it's going to probably help you to budget for Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane, Salah, whoever it is that you want in those premium positions.
It's funny when you wake up and you think, I'm doing a Q&A today with Sam. I wonder who we'll talk about. We're going to talk about all the big names, Torres and Jota and Ronaldo. And we start straight in strong with Timu Pukki. I mean, I'm going the complete opposite. My one I picked out was Tierney. So, obviously the defender playing against Pukki. I'm not picking Tierney for his ability to return defensive returns. I think Arsenal probably concede in maybe 2 out of the next 4, something like that. They haven't looked good at all. But I can't help but look at his first game week when he played against Brentford, and his underlying stats in that game in terms of chances created and crosses were absolutely off the scale.
They were.
He then went into Chelsea and City, so it's quite hard to judge him on that. Picked up a bit of an injury, but looks fit now. And I just think if they're going to use him in that way against these kind of, lesser teams, then I think he could be great value. I think he's 4.9, something like that. Yeah. So I think if you've got the extra money, because Ben White is going to offer you nothing attacking wise, like ever. Like there's absolutely no chance. But Tierney could get you something. So I'll pick him. So hopefully that answers your question. Nice template. And he'll be happy that we've answered him. In Azuma, asks best mid-price option under 5.7. So best mid option under 5.7 million. So I mean, we're not looking at a huge amount of options here. We're looking at what Gray, Mbomo, Smith Rowe. That's about it, isn't it? Anyone else?
Yeah. I'm just looking at them. I'm just looking at the list on my phone and thinking, is there anybody? Yeah, Gray. Gray's the standout, I think, in that position. The fixtures are quite good as well for Everton. Like there's some attacking potential there. I think with Gray though, it's going to be on is Calvert-Lewin okay? If Calvert-Lewin's not there, it doesn't make me really want to go Gray either. Like I don't know this. I mean, if I want to continue with the Norwich loving, then Shika.
Oh God,
we could go there. Like the thing is, I think with these guys, right, it don't really matter, does it? They're under 4. If they're under 5.5, then you can kind of take a bit of a chance on them. And I also would think that going with a team like Norwich or Everton, you're unlikely to want to own 3 of them. So you're not taking up one of those all-important positions in your team.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced on Gray. I just think, like, he scored that goal against Brighton, but how often is a defence just good? Like, we parted like the bloody Red Sea to let him run through and score that goal. Like, yeah. Actually, if you look at like how he's played in other matches, I mean, he's playing well, but I'm not really convinced. And he was never really an FPL option when he was at Leicester too much. And he's hit the ground running at Everton and been playing well, but I guess for 5.6 or whatever he is, you don't need him to kind of return every week. I think he's probably the one that I'd go for, but I don't like them. If I'm being honest, I don't like the mids under 5.7. I think, for 6, you can get like Traore, you can get Sarr. For 6.5, you can get Rafinha. And your flexibility is kind of ruined because you're going to have to be swapping between these, these 5.7 and under guys. So,
I mean, in some ways, is it not better to just go with a 4.5, go with someone like Basuma, frees up that extra money that you can invest elsewhere then?
Well, I suppose so. What? But you wouldn't want to start him, right? So what you mean go for the back?
Yeah. So, I think this 5.5 million bracket is a difficult one to invest in. So potentially, actually, if we're saying we're not that keen on Gray, there's not that many other players in that position, then is it not better to go with a 4.5, use the extra million to invest in a better defender or potentially a better third striker so that you can then play those positions rather than playing them through the middle?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Mark and I talked about some Blood Boss last night of the thought at the back. I'm not a massive fan of it because I do think we want to be able to move for midfielders when they become available. And if you thought at the back, it's a lot harder because if you're swapping out a 5.5 defender and you want to get a 6.5 mid and you've got Basuma and I don't know, someone Shaw or someone like that, you're going to find it quite difficult to do that even in 2 moves. So that's why I don't like it. But at the same time, I think if you're having to choose between like Gray or Shaw or someone like Rudiger or someone like that, then I think you can make the case for going for the back. So I'm a bit conflicted. I basically just don't like the mids under 5.7. So I think if you have to get one, that's when you can maybe consider going for the back. But otherwise, I'll just try and find the extra 0.3 and grab Sarr. I think Sarr's the one that I'd go for with the fixtures Watford have got. There you go, that doesn't answer the question at all. What mid under 5.7? And I've said a 6 million one, so there you go. Hopefully that helps. Pacer asks, United double up at the back. Could we consider pairing Wan-Bissaka with Shaw? Because the United approach this year might be kick it at Ronaldo's head. Thoughts?
I'm not keen on the double up. If anything, I'm thinking by game week 7, I might not want anyone at the back for United, let alone 2 of them. I think one's enough. There's so many decent options in defence right now. I would rather have Trent and a 4.5 than I would Wan-Bissaka and Shaw.
Yeah, I'm annoyed because I haven't got Shaw, and I was kind of happy that he hasn't really done too much to start the season, but I just think he's going to become an absolutely brilliant asset now with Ronaldo there. Wan-Bissaka is useless at crossing. So if you're going to get Wan-Bissaka in hoping that he can cross the ball to Ronaldo, he got no chance because he cannot cross the ball. So you're basically relying on defensive returns from him. I still am not sure with Pogba and Fred in the middle of the park. I still have doubts.
The defence isn't that solid, is it? I don't think I think we've got to see how they set up with Ronaldo in there as well, but I wouldn't want the double up in defence.
No, I mean, obviously, Maguire and Varane's good, but when you've got Fred and Pogba like holding the midfield of the park, they're going to concede chances. So yeah, I think Shaw's fine. I wouldn't lose. I think there's better options than Wan-Bissaka if you're looking at it like that. Let's take some questions from the chat because I got trouble last time we did one of these for not taking comments from the chat.
Oh, Az.
I know.
Always in trouble you are.
Always in trouble. I know. It's not fair, is it? I try and do my best.
Well, I don't know. You give me a red arrow.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm pretty useless. Suresh Kumar asks, what about Ings? Should we leave him or a -4 to take him out? It's obviously away at Chelsea. He's someone who a lot of people are moving on. He has returned in every match so far, but he's had really good fixtures. Villa haven't looked good. Buendia's out. It seems like a good time to take him out. I guess it just depends on who's available, right? Or if you move up to Ronaldo.
It's difficult, this one, because he's actually got really good history against Big Six clubs as well, and did return against Chelsea last season, all right, for Southampton rather than for Villa. And hasn't really done anything wrong, but equally hasn't really done anything amazing, if that makes sense, to start the season.
Well, apart from an overhead kick, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, all right. But in terms of FPL returns, we haven't seen like...
I expected more.
We were all expecting more in those opening 3 fixtures. So I do think that there is a good case for getting rid of him this time. But the question is, do you go up or do you go down? Because going up to Ronaldo, Lukaku or Kane from Ings is quite hard. You could go sideways to Calvert-Lewin if we know he's fit and available. If you haven't got Antonio, why on earth not go there? But yeah, I think it could be time to part with him. Also, there's potential, isn't there, to take him down to one of the playing cheaper options and then use that money to upgrade somebody else as well. So I think for me, I'd lose Ings.
It feels like a good week to sell him because, I mean, I don't think his ceiling's particularly high against Chelsea. No. It's a very obvious thing to say. Villa have got problems, with Buendia out as well, so they're going to lose that creativity. Martinez means they're probably going to be under more pressure as well. Chelsea should win that game fairly comfortably. I mean, if Calvert-Lewin's fit, I think a -4 even for Ings to Calvert-Lewin should pay for itself this week. I also think this is quite a good week to move for one of Lukaku or Ronaldo, depending which one you want from Ings, because Ings isn't cheap at sort of 8 million. So, if you can move up to one of those from -4 and swap Fernandes out, I think this is probably the best chance you're going to have to do it. So yeah, I would also vote to get rid of him if you can.
Yeah.
Yep. Tom Bosman asks, what do you think about Marçal? Is he at risk of rotation? So he's been starting at left back, and he's cheap. He's the cheapest Wolves option along with Cody, but Cody doesn't really offer much in terms of attacking wise. So would you play it safe with Cody, or do you think Marçal's going to stay in the side?
I'd play it safe with Cody if you want to go 4.5. Guaranteed starts, aren't you? I really like Sias. I think he's a great option. I noticed you've put Semedo in your scout squad picks for this week. I've put Sias. So we're all agreed that the Wolves defence looks like the right place to invest. But it is tough, I think, working out which one you go for. Because obviously Semedo's 4.9 and Sias is 5. So you've got to pay a bit more for them. But I think if you're going really cheap, I'd be keen to be assured as possible that they were going to start, and therefore Cody would be my pick.
It's amazing that Wolves have got 3 players who have all got fantastic underlying stats, but are all just underperforming massively. Yeah. I mean, Semedo, Traore, and Jimenez are all, looking like they could sort of break the game in terms of like their XG and expected assists and all that. But I don't trust. Well, I trust Jimenez the most of the 3. I don't trust Semedo at all. Really, no. I had him for quite a while last season. He was awful, but they are looking to use him more, I think, and get him higher up the pitch this season. So I think the extra money is probably worth it for him. Similar to kind of Tierney and White, you're not going to get anything from Cody, so you might as well pay a little bit extra. Marçal, I don't trust. He's old. No. He's old. He's an old boy, and I think he's going to be rotated around that. So yeah, I think out of those 2, I'll go for Cody. How's this one for you then, Sam? So we've had some questions from Twitter. Do you know who Ryan Quinn is? He's around quite a fair bit. He's quite active on Twitter. He's sixth in the world, and he wants our advice.
Why does he want my advice?
I have no idea. But he's sixth in the world, and he's on a wild card. And he says he's sorted his squad out, but he's got one more decision to make, which is Benrahma or Traore.
Oh man,
So go on.
this one's hard.
Pick for Ryan: Benrahma or Traore.
Benrahma.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard, this one, though, isn't it?
It's that detailed analysis, Sam, which is exactly why he wanted to know.
No, I will elaborate. But I find it's really hard to pick between the two of them because West Ham have started the season incredibly well. They're in good form. The fixtures still stay okay for a little while. Of course, we've got Europa League coming up, so that's going to have an impact. But until game week 7, their fixtures turn. Game week 12, their fixtures turn. I think it's game week 12, their fixtures turn. Yeah, game week 12. So I think you can hold him for a little bit longer. My issue with Traore mostly is this weekend, because although I think this weekend's fixture is really nice for them, this stuff with the Brazilians and whether they're allowed to play or not could have a bit of an impact on Wolves and Jimenez. So I think I'll be tempted to go Benrahma for now, knowing that when Wolves start banging, it's easy to go to Traore.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you do when you're sixth in the world at this stage, because
Try not to panic.
well, if this is game week 30, then I think you're looking to consolidate and hold, and maybe that's kind of you think you're looking more around you. Whereas at this stage, you could have a bad week and end up sort of 20k like after one bad week. There's so little in it at this point. So yeah. I think you don't make. I think the fact that you're sixth in the world shouldn't make any difference to the way you play. I think you just got to carry on playing. How you think. You shouldn't be thinking, I'm going to pick Traore because that could make me number one and all this. I think you've got to pick who is the better pick. And I agree. I think Benrahma has shown way more than Traore in terms of ability to actually get returns.
Yeah. And
Traore is the kind of pick who could hit a massive haul, or he's just going to continue to frustrate, and you keep holding him because the stats are good, and then he never delivers anything.
Yeah.
But I just think I'm seeing a lot of people wildcarding and getting rid of Benrahma. And I think that's just because he blanked, right, in the last game. And he nearly did. Remember Antonio running through on goal in the last minute and squaring the ball, messing up his pass? If Benrahma scores that, everyone's still got Benrahma in their side. So I wouldn't be put off by that. I still think he looks sharp and good. So yeah, he's my pick.
Yeah.
As well. Another 50-50 for you. Denver Die Derek 3? What a name. Torres or Jota? Get to pick one. Going forward?
Torres.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think only because... So I know that there's a rotation risk around Torres in some ways, not necessarily because they've got anyone to directly replace him, but obviously KDB's coming back. We have seen him play in a false 9 before. There is some potential there, but he started the season really well for Pep, and Pep has been consistently picking him over the first 3 game weeks. Jota, I guess it's going to depend on what happens with Firmino, because I'm expecting them to share minutes over the course of this season, and whilst Jota can get time off the bench and will get time off the bench, I think Pep usually makes his transfers really early. It's like 60 minutes, isn't it? Just to annoy us all, 58
his transfers, like he's an FPL manager.
Yeah, substitution. But so I think Torres' game time, I just really like Torres. I think the way that they attack, the way that he's going to be playing makes me go with him. Jota, I think, is also a good pick. And if you can have both, then great. But if I was going to choose one or the other, I'd go Torres, because Liverpool, you can go Salah as well instead. Whereas at City, who else do you pick instead?
Interesting. I think the opposite. I was all set on Torres at the start of the international break. I thought this is going to be the move I make. Nice and easy. Fernandes down to Torres. Sorted. As the week's gone on, he's played every minute, or he's played the vast majority of all their international games to this point. Foden and De Bruyne are both back now in training. I don't believe Gabriel Jesus is going to stay on the right wing for an extended period of time. They've got the Champions League starting. They've got some tough games coming up. I don't think Torres is going to play every minute, and I just don't want to enter into that mess again, because I do it every year. And the points are shared. Okay, he's hit a big haul against Arsenal, but he hasn't scored in any of the previous games leading up to that. The points are going to be shared across the team. got the chance of missing out. And I think with Jota at the moment, with Firmino potentially missing a few weeks, you've got the complete opposite of Torres. You've got this kind of exciting, like really, really attacking player. Stats-wise, he's the best in the league when for expected goal involvement over 90. So if he's going to get a run in the team for the next few weeks, he's the one I'd go for.
Is he though? Throw Mason Mount in there as a curveball as well, obviously in the same price bracket as these two. Don't have this problem with Mason Mount in terms of rotation risk.
True,
He's going to play. Nice fixtures for Chelsea, particularly from game week 7. With Lukaku up top, surely his assist potential is increased. I like him.
Yep. For people asking if I don't read the chat, I do read the chat, but we do need to have some kind of structure to this. Otherwise,
we'll just be everywhere.
We'll just be everywhere. So the idea is that there's, if you want your questions answered, then reply to the post on Fantasy Football Scout or on Twitter. I'll pretty much make sure they're answered. If you ask in the chat, there's a chance that I'll get to you, but we can't answer every question in the chat because there's like literally hundreds. So we're going to be here all night, and Sam, you've got to run off at 10 minutes.
I've got FPL show
to do. So basically in the morning of the Q&A, just look out on Scout and look out on Twitter for the post, and just reply to that as well. And and we'll try and answer it too. But yeah, we're getting through them. But yeah, I will try and answer some more questions in the chat in a sec. Right, so we had some questions about Arsenal. So FPL Sleepy Jedi, I like that name, and Sheriff Abdelmak 3. Sheriff is considering Aubameyang, which is interesting.
Is he?
Yep. He's considered as an option for this week mostly, obviously, because they've got the Norwich game. And then FPL CPJ asked what Arsenal midfielders to consider. So Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Saka, all of these guys. I mean, neither of us are huge fans of Arsenal. You particularly aren't a fan of Arsenal, I imagine. We aren't a fan of them FPL-wise. What do you reckon about going with a couple of Arsenal punts or one Arsenal punt on your wildcard?
I mean, I've just got rid of both of mine.
Who are they?
I started with the season with Ben White and Smith Rowe and moved them on fairly quickly. It's hard with Arsenal, isn't it? Because we do need to see some bounce back from them, that's for sure. Like, we need to have some consistency now that the players are returning from illnesses. But I'm not sure what the feeling is like in that club. And I look around and like Aubameyang, I've not seen anything. I know he was out for COVID, but even since he's been back, I've not seen anything from him, maybe even over the last season, to suggest that he's really up for doing well anymore. Like, certainly for the price point that he is in the game, I just can't see that he's worth the investment. The cheap ones, yeah, maybe they're going with the likes of Odegaard or Smith Rowe is okay because they're cheap and not going to take up a lot of your budget. But I do think there are better options around than picking Arsenal right now. They're very lowly owned. So if they do something against Norwich, then it's not going to have a massive detrimental impact on your rank. And I think there's space for watching them and then acting when we start to see a bit of form for them. Undoubtedly we will at some point. They will surely get better. They have to, otherwise they're going to get relegated. So they have to get better. It's Arsenal. They're not going to be down there all season. I cannot believe that they're going to be down there all season. So I think they're a wait and see for me. And I certainly would not be going Aubameyang over Lukaku or Antonio or Ronaldo or any of those guys.
Well, why would you? I mean, you're getting in Aubameyang for a 1 week punt with the idea of moving him on for one of the other premiums, but you've got a 1 week punt in a way with Ronaldo and Lukaku and because they've both got good fixtures.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why I think you would pick Aubameyang this week over the others. It strikes me as, when you just try and be a bit too clever, and I do it all the time. You're trying to find someone a bit different, and then you get in Aubameyang, he blanks, and Ronaldo or Lukaku both get a goal, and then you've got to use a transfer to bring him in anyway. Yeah, I would just avoid that altogether. And I think Aubameyang's quite an awkward price, and he's like 9.9, something like that. Yeah. So it might even be you get him, and then you don't have the money to upgrade to Lukaku or Ronaldo, and then you're even further behind. You've got to take a hit. Yeah, just the only player that I'd consider from Arsenal is Tierney. I think for my side, who I mentioned earlier. The only other one that I think could potentially become an option is Saka in midfield.
It's quite expensive though, isn't he? Like,
is he 6'4", 6'5", something like that?
I just think
he is. Yeah, he is quite expensive, but he is
Ben Rama category, isn't he? Yeah. Like Traore category. You're seeing a lot more from those guys than you are from Saka and Arsenal.
I'm happier to take a punt around that 6'5" mark though with someone like Saka than I would be Aubameyang over one of the strikers, because I think the strikers is just, it's Ronaldo or Lukaku, it's Antonio, and then you've got Calvert-Lewin there, and then you've got Jimenez maybe who could
And
come into
Pookie.
it. And Pookie, yeah.
Only because he's really cheap. If Pookie was 8, I would not be saying this, but at the price point that he is.
I love that Pookie's in this. This is great. I wasn't expecting to be talking about Pookie. Mission Donny. So you can answer this one. Harry Kane. If you had him, would you make the swap for Ronaldo, Lukaku? 8% owned. Harry Kane. Surely going to be a factor at some point in our season. Would you switch?
Next.
Yeah, exactly. Would you switch?
No, I don't think you could. If you've got Harry Kane, I do not think you can take him out ahead of Palace. You can make the switch next week ahead of Chelsea. But I don't think you can do it ahead of Palace. Like I do appreciate that Ronaldo and Lukaku have also got really nice fixtures. Lukaku against Villa, but he's a slight injury doubt there. So what if you take out Harry Kane and then Lukaku doesn't start? That's a disaster. Ronaldo's got a really nice fixture against Newcastle. You would think that given he came back early from international duty, that he's going to start in that game. But we've got Harry Kane who's in form, scored, what is it now, in the last 15 for England qualifiers. He's in good form. He should have scored against Watford in game week 3. It's not August anymore, so he will likely score this weekend. I don't think you can take Harry Kane out.
No, it's and especially with the kind of the some doubts we've got about Lukaku's thigh injury and Ronaldo's start and stuff. You could end up burnt quite massively.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd do it.
He's captainable this week as well, Kane, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's quite a tough game for Spurs. Actually, I think Palace looked quite good against West Ham. I wasn't really expecting that, but yeah, I don't.
But they'll concede.
Yeah,
and it's Kane.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, Son. What do you think about Son? Do you reckon Son's going to start? I think his injury there might be something there, and he might miss out for a while. Does that make Kane worse?
No, I don't think it makes Kane worse. But so I own Son at the moment, and part of the reason I haven't wildcarded this week is because I own Son, and because we had this nice fixture against Crystal Palace, and I was like, in order to make the changes that I wanted to across the rest of my team, I felt like I needed to lose Son to free up that money, take him down to Mount probably. But then obviously this injury happened, and now I'm kind of still waiting on injury news, and I'm hoping that Nuno gives us some clear instruction on Son, because obviously for managers that own him, if he is injured and isn't going to play, then with the games against Chelsea to follow, you could easily sell him and use that money to buy one of these big hitters that we've been talking about. But I don't think it will make Kane a worse option. If you have got Son, though, I do think it's touch and go. But we have seen him miraculously recover from stuff before, and did walk onto the plane fine, doesn't seem to be kind of carrying any injuries or anything. So let's just see what happens, I guess, and what Spurs have got to say.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Spurs are an interesting one. I mean, I don't know how you've won all 3 games.
Top of the league.
Top of the league. I know, it is crazy.
Won't last long.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if Harry Kane scores a couple against Palace and you've got him, like, do you even move him on then? Lukaku and Ronaldo's fixtures don't turn that
very
nicely.
Hard. So, very hard to get rid of him, given that Lukaku and Kane, why was that so hard to say, play against each other next week. And then, of course, Kane's got Arsenal, who defensively have been all over the place the week after. Loves to score in a London derby, does Harry Kane. So very hard to move him on, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
If you haven't got him. So I can see why he's not being talked about in terms of people that have no premium up top and they're looking at Lukaku or Ronaldo. I can understand that. But if you've got Harry Kane, to me, there wouldn't even be a thought that would be to sell him right now.
Yep. Agreed. A couple of questions from the chat. Rim Gabrufel asked about Bamford. I mentioned a load of strikers, didn't mention Bamford. Thoughts on Bamford? Do you think he could be an option?
Could be, couldn't he? Because the fixtures are changing for the better for Leeds. It's just his price point. It's a little bit on the high side.
So much more than Rafinha. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think that is a big problem because the rest of the Leeds attack generally you can invest in quite easily. Like Rafinha and Harrison, they're cheap, much cheaper. And we're having all these conversations about premium forwards. And if you're talking about having a Lukaku or a Ronaldo or a Kane, if you're talking about still keeping Antonio and then you want Calvert-Lewin, it's very hard to put Bamford in that conversation as well.
Yeah, I think if you didn't have to worry about formation and a maximum of 3 strikers, I think Bamford's a great option, but you do. Yeah. And Rafinha, compared to these 6.5 options around him, is arguably the standout one. Whereas, like you just said, Bamford has got so much competition with Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Lukaku, Ronaldo. I just don't think you can use a spot on him when you can go for Rafinha at 1.5 less and sort out that mid spot, which is better. So that's why I'm not really putting him in the conversation. But he could be a good differential if you want to pick someone else. Mike A asks about Williams from Norwich. Is it 4 million? Is he a good bench option or a trap? I think he's a great bench option. I think if I was wildcarding, I'll go with Livramento and Williams, 2 4 million options.
100% agree with you.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, they're a gift, right? We didn't have any at the start of the season.
Totally. Livramento, Williams, perfect. You don't have to play them. You can play them in. Norwich have got nice fixtures as well. So there will be some game weeks coming up where you want to play him. So play him. He might get a clean sheet.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep, absolutely. And the final question is from Luke Conland. Ivan Toney. Talk about a bandwagon at the start of the season. Everyone thought he was going to come in, smash 30 goals like he did in the Championship. The fixtures are turning now. Brighton at home isn't too bad, but then the fixtures get pretty rough. And we've talked about the strikers. I mean, Toney we haven't mentioned him at all yet. Have you got Toney?
Yeah.
You have. What do you
Still.
think? You keeping him? Are you looking to move him on?
I kind of saw Toney as being a player that I would just deal with when I get to my wild card. Like I can't see him making it through a wild card restructure of the side. But I've also got Troy Deeney, so I've kind of got to deal with him as well.
Wow.
Look, this is the thing with my team. My front three: Antonio, fine; Toney, okay for this week against Brighton; Deeney, playing for Birmingham now, so need to deal with that. I think you can stick with Toney for game week 4, but I think after that is probably the moment where we look to part ways with him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was just going to say, it'd be great if you ended up with a front three of Pukki, Deeney and Toney. That'd be...
My God.
with others with like Ronaldo and Lukaku.
Yeah, I started the season with a lot of money in defence and a lot of money in midfield because I've got Salah, Son and Bruno. So there needs to be some reshuffling of budget going on now. We've got some premium assets up top. And because I'm going to want some premium assets up top, that's going to mean that Toney is going to be the sacrifice position because I'm not going to lose Antonio. So some budget's got to come from elsewhere and Toney will go as part of that. So I think you can stick with him this week, but long term needs to go. Yeah,
absolutely. There's been a poll in the chat. Which transfer plans have you been considering or considered? 38%.
Is Pukki now there?
Yeah, we hope so. 38% have wildcarded. So obviously they've all gone for Pukki based on your love for him. 30% are on a -4. 25% have just used free transfers, and 4% might be like me. I might be on a -8 this week, depending on press conference news.
Yeah.
I might be taking a big hit. So it's a lot of wild cards, right? 38% of people here are on wild cards. So, yeah.
I think there might be some last minute ones as well. Because if come press conferences day, we get news that Son and Lukaku are both not going to play in game week 4, there's going to be loads more wild cards because suddenly players like me that have got money invested in Son will go, okay, well, time to reshuffle the pack and spread the love of the wealth elsewhere. So I can only see there being more wild cards by the time the deadline hits.
Yep, absolutely. Right, I think we'll leave it there, Sam. That's great. Just if you've liked this video, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and like and drop a comment as well. I'd love to see some wildcard teams and I'll try and respond to some of those too. So yeah, if you drop your wildcard team in, then I will have a look and give it a review. So that'd be nice. If you're on a wildcard as well, members area, Fantasy Football Scout, check it out, become a member, look at some stats tables, all of that stuff, because that'll definitely help you. I'll definitely be looking at all that, comparisons and transfer planners and all of that are essential really when you're building a wildcard team. These are teams you're going to have for ages now. You're not going to have a get out of jail free card. So you need to make sure you're getting it right. And yeah, again, a plug for the Champions League game. If you're interested in the Champions League and you want to play fantasy football, make sure you head over to the UEFA site. I'll put some links in the description as well, so you can join our mini league and things like that. I'll be playing it this year. I really enjoyed the Euros game. Actually, I enjoyed the management more than I thought I would. I got a little bit overwhelmed with it at times, but yeah, like I said, I think the Champions League game will be a bit easier, I think, to manage. But Sam, I'm gonna let you go to the FPL show. Thanks for joining me, and we'll be back on Monday, I believe, in the regular slot to do another one of these.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon.